Back at it again. Um, I'm coming back to this. It's still July 16th. I'm gonna keep working on the query builder. I'm gonna try not to have this one be too long because it's about dinner time for me, so I'm getting kind of hungry. So might just do a couple kind of small things, and probably won't have anything major working by the end of this, but we'll probably be closer. I had some things in mind that I didn't quite do properly or the way that I wanted to, or maybe I made some mistakes. So I want to go back and fix those before I keep adding new stuff. So let me try to remember exactly what those are. Let's see. Some of the major things I thought was that this data structure actually needs some additional information in it. It can't just be a new type. But because we want it to have some information on the UI, it's not exactly easy to just kind of inject information like that into the UI. So we do need the data structure to hold everything that we want. So, like, right, we wanted it to have the text that we entered for the query. We wanted it to have the actual parsed query, which it has that already. It doesn't have the text in it. And then we also wanted to have the number of files that's affected by the query, which it also doesn't have. So I think what we're going to do is change this from a new type to an actual proper data structure that contains that information. So we're going to have to do a little bit of rewriting to this module. So I think I might commit what I have now, and this is just all stuff that I did earlier. I haven't touched this since then. So I'm going to commit what I have now just so I don't have to worry about like messing anything up, right? Um, and then we'll just get started working on that other stuff. So let me go ahead and make sure I'm not like missing anything. Oops. Fossil, add, remove. Hmm. Um. And a simple handler. That seems like an okay message for me. I don't know. Maybe I should have a little bit more discipline with my commit messages, but uh, I'm the only one that is going to read them, and I don't read them anyways, so it doesn't really matter that much to me, right? Need to reload this because it's still showing my diff here, so I'm not going to update VS Code. It's just a bunch of like JavaScript crap that they always end up adding that I don't care about. Alright, so let's see, we want to change this, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. We need to make this a proper data type, right? So we lose out on some of the advantages that the new type gives us in exchange for being able to hold some more useful information. I'm going to actually not have this be parameterized since this all happens on the UI. Um, I kept these type of like AST data structures parameterized on the back end, just so you could be kind of free to use them however you wanted, even though they were still pretty restricted. But since this front end is not really meant to be extensible in that same way, there's no point in having this be parameterized, right? Like I know this is only ever going to hold text, so I don't need to parameterize this, right? So we can just keep it simpler like that. So here we go. We'll have our type or data constructor branch, and then we'll go ahead and just use some record syntax for it. Okay, so some of these names can get quite long, right? I'm not going to worry about that. It needs to have our text, right? So that's going to be the text that's in the query bar as you enter it. Just so you there's no confusion as to what the actual words that you typed in the query are, right? So it's easy and nice for you to recall. Widget, sentence, branch, and I could use lenses with this. I'm trying to think if maybe I should. I use lenses for a lot of other things. in this project. Nah, I won't worry about it right now. Actually, well, yeah, I will. We'll just name it like we're going to use lenses, and then we'll decide if we want to use them or not later. How's that? Text, like so. Widget, sentence, branch, and then here's going to be our actual, what is it? Sentence tree? I don't remember. Sentence tree, yeah. We'll just call it that, right? Because that's basically what the data structure was meant to hold anyways, so sentence tree text. And then for this, what we'll call it is maybe count is maybe fine, right? It's gonna be an int. Okay, there we go. It looks fine to me. That means we're probably going to want to change this type as well, right? From a sequence of sentence trees to a sequence of sentence branches. So I'll just go ahead and make that change now while we're at it. Redundant bracket, as is often the case. Just get rid of that. I don't need that anymore. I'm gonna get rid of these comments. This isn't a library module, so you don't. I mean, it can be kind of helpful to have comments. I don't really honestly care for having a lot of comments in my code. I think that might be kind of hypocritical for me because I do have a tendency to add comments, but I don't really ever add helpful comments. So I don't really care for the fact that I do that, and I'm not really of the opinion that it's super important to comment code all that often, to be honest. But I do it anyways, probably for the same sort of reason that I make wiki pages for Tagger and am doing these videos for Tagger, right? That exact same kind of like complex, probably. It's probably a good explanation for that. So, that doesn't need to be parameterized either. It's not a functor anymore, so we can get rid of that. Get rid of that. We're not deriving a functor. Yep, do that. This is always a text, so it's not a parameterized request either. That's just going to be a text. Equals a, we don't need that constraint anymore. We can change this to that. All this stuff, right? Yes, I'm sure if I was using Vim, right, I would have some kind of, you know, combination of 800 keys I could press to just do all this instantly, but I'm kind of stupid, so I'm not going to like bother with that with VS Code. Okay. So now we just got to go through and fix these functions up. Let's see, first, let's just go ahead and, since this is kind of our entry point for that data type, right, so I'm trying to think. This, I was thinking before also, one thing I wanted to do for this, that I don't want that to be an abstract type. I want that, I don't really want the field for that to be exposed. I just want, or rather, I want this field to be exposed. I don't want the data constructor to be exposed. So I think that I can just do this, right? And do that. We'll find out once I fix these other functions, because once I do these are going to be more errors that show up. So I'm going to just go ahead. I'm going to comment these, and then as I fix them, we can just go back through. Do that. Okay, And then also one thing I noticed is that I gave this the wrong name, right? Widget query request and then query widget request. Come on, right? Widget query. Actually, what I need to do, since I use that in other files, do this. Or I don't actually, but you know. Widget query request, yep. Is it? Yeah, okay. Just do that. I think that probably works. That one's fine. Don't need to even do anything to that one. This one, I'm gonna actually go to this create one, right? Okay, so in addition to this request, we also need to give it our text and a count, right? So those need to be additional parameters, unless we want to like kind of all construct it all in one step, which may be easier. Like you could have it be, that might be kind of interesting. Here, we'll do something interesting with it, right? So we'll do a create widget sentence branch, the exact same thing, but it's going to take a, let's see, what do we want? First of all, we need a connection to our database, right? It's going to take a setup, and it's going to take some text, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to return a maybe t of a widget sentence branch, right? So we get to see some monad transformers, right? Those are super cool. I love monad transformers, and maybe t is perfect. It's really useful. So we're getting into the cool stuff right away, right? This is way better than the boring way we were doing it before, right? So then we can do this. We can do it this way. I'm trying to think. Maybe this is not the best way to do it, but it's the most interesting way to do it, which counts for something. So I'm definitely going to keep it like this, I think. And it's easy, right? It's way easier than having to provide a bunch of extra stuff. So yeah, we'll just keep it like this. So then basically what we're implying by this is that we're just going to get some raw text, and then we're going to parse it in this function. So I'm going to have to import the parser into this module, right? We will go ahead and let me think here. What do we call this? Let's call it rec, right? We're going to parse a request out of it. We need to lift this. Parse returns a returns an either, right? But this needs to be a maybe t IO, so we have to actually lift it into the maybe t monad. So we don't actually really even need to do that, right? We can just do a let. That's probably way easier. We'll do that. Let our I'm just gonna go and call this actually parse result. And then depending on what this parse result is, then we can go ahead and finish out building the rest of this, right? So we are going to, let me think here how we want to do this. Here is our rec. Behind this, what we're going to do is lift, and then we're going to have an IO action, right? So this way now, this little clause in here is just a plain IO monad, and then we lift it to the maybe t monad. So you'll see in a second why it's useful that we're doing this. But this really, since now we're in the IO monad, now we can print the parse error, right, if there is one. So we can go ahead and do that. So we'll do that same sort of either function that we saw before. Parse result, like so. We'll have our error here. So this is just going to be hprint and then standard error, like that. Import system.io, like so. And then for this, all we want to do is just return that. And then what is the problem here? Oh, I see. So we don't want to actually lift that. We want to just do this, and then we lift each individual result. So this is going to be a const. Let me make sure I'm doing this right. I think I probably am, right? A Reclisely composition. There we go. Yeah, super cool. Got some monad Kleisli composition now too. This is getting interesting, right? Let's see. Yep, defined but not used. So perfect. Okay, so what this is doing is this is either giving us. Oh, hold on. What is going on here? I don't know why that says it's any. It should be a request. So I think, right? Oh, hold on. Yeah, of course, because we had that typed hole in there, so it didn't know what we were returning, right? So this is really, really cool. This is a really cool part about monad transformers, right? So we have this parse result that is I don't know what the proper word is, but I'll call it unlifted, right? So it's not in the IO monad, it's not in the maybe monad, but we have this fail condition, parse error, and then we have our success condition where it returns a request for us. So what we're doing here is if we have an error, we're printing the error, and then we're just returning nothing, and that nothing is lifted into the maybe t monad for us right here. And then otherwise, if we have a success, we're just lifting that value to the maybe t, and then because Haskell has this do notation here, it lets us use this value and lets us just assume that it is the value that we want, right? Let's just assume that we have a request here. So this is kind of just desugared, like this actually is a maybe request, right? So this could be nothing, but the nice part is that we get to write it like it's something, right? So I don't know, you probably already know this, maybe if you've used Haskell even a little bit, you would know this, but I think it's really cool, like every time. So I enjoy things like that a lot. One of my favorite parts of using Haskell, and it's kind of magic to me every time, to be honest. So yeah, sorry about that if it's kind of condescending to talk about it like you don't know how the maybe monad works. But anyways, now that we've got our request, we can go ahead and then construct a widget branch out of it, right? So let me think. One thing that we want to do here is we want to run the query request on that, so we can get our hash set of files here. So we'll just go ahead and run that query, right? So we've got a lift, and then I gotta remember what the actual name of that function is. Here, query request, we're gonna run this function. Query request on our tagged connection and our request, like so. So now we have a set of files. Actually, we don't have a set of files that's wrapped up in a type, so let me unwrap that. with this guy here. Now we've got our result set of files. Also, one thing I actually want to do, before I just left it as a hash set, but since we know that we want to construct this type with an int, I'm just going to go ahead and just find the size of that hash set anyways, right? And this would be a circumstance where it's really kind of wasteful to run this entire request and return a hash set and then just only get the length of the hash set and then just throw it out. Right. So that doesn't quite sit well with me, but I mean at the same time, like, what are you going to do about that, right? That's how the function's written, and it'd be quite a bit more work than I think would be necessary to meaningfully affect that, so not going to worry about it. Import qualify data dot hash set HS. That's kind of just my standard hash set import. There we go. Now we should have an int. Perfect, right? And then now what do we want? We have everything that we need to construct this, so we should be able to just return now a widget sentence branch, right? Widget sentence branch. We've got a with our text, we've got some sentence tree that's going to go there that we're going to create in a second. And then we've got our affected file count. I'm going to change the name of that to affected file count. I have this little rule here. I don't like my text to go past that rule. Completely arbitrary though. So let's see. And I mentioned before, I want this to be a sentence tree of only one specific type of constructor, right? So I want this to be a sentence branch. So we'll go ahead and construct that type in here now. We have our setup available to us. Now we just have this thing here. So we've got a list of sentence trees, which should be part of this request. So we'll go ahead and just do some pattern matching so we can get that list of trees out. Like so. There's our list of sentence trees. Just like that. And there we go. There is our new construction function for our new data type, widget sentence branches. Those will go ahead and, using our database connection, make everything that we need to put in that widget. So I'm feeling pretty satisfied about that. I think that has all the extra information that I needed in there. So I think that that's good for me. So that saves us also. That saves us in the handler from having to do that either match in there. This kind of just lets us work with the pure value. And I'll get to that when we get there. But this will let us just have a pure value in our handler, which will be very nice and easy to work with instead of having to do this whole either parsing thing in there. So trying to think. This is a redundant do. We don't need that. We can get rid of that. That looks okay to me. Yep. All right. We will uncomment that. Now we can start moving on to these other ones. These other ones should be much easier to do. So this function here, squash query widget request, maybe is not the best name for it. All this is supposed to do is just take take one of these and then just turn it back into a request so that we can run this engine on it. So it's supposed to just basically unlift these UI types back into our library types so that we can just work with them normally, right? So I think we can just do that. Perhaps. Oh, no, we can't actually. Hold on, what am I thinking? This, we actually need to map over this value, right? So I'm trying to think here. we need to have some function here that takes our widget sentence branch to a sentence tree, right? So all that's going to be is just this this record right here. So we can just write that widget sentence branch. There we go. That's it for that. Oops. Okay. That's it for that one. Easy. Let's see. The move query widget node to, I think that this one probably will be not too hard. It looks a little bit complicated, at least to me. This is all written in the maybe monad and not the maybe t like this one is. This is the only time that I've ever used do notation for using maybe. But that's just because I had a handful of computations that were in the maybe monad, so I figured it would be kind of easy, but that was kind of novel and amusing for me to do that, because I don't usually ever use the do notation for maybe. But it was useful, I thought, so we'll do that one. I want to leave that commented, actually, until we fix it, right? So, actually, we don't even need to do anything to this, right? Because this works with the requests. So the actual kind of like relative type hasn't changed at all. So yeah, we don't even need to do anything with that. So that's easy peasy. This one should be about the same. Should be pretty simple. Yep. So should this one. Perhaps. This needs to just be, we'll just give this just that. Create widget sentence branch. That was what we had before, so close that up. I don't even need this anymore. I can get rid of these guys. There we go. Cleaned up, nice and clean, right? Way better. I like that a lot. This is the only thing that feels kind of iffy to me. I mean, I like that we kind of get all the information we need. It feels a little strange to me to have like our only data constructor be a maybe TIO. I think given that this is only ever going to be created through the event handler, that's not really a problem. That might just be kind of me being kind of nitpicky about something that doesn't actually matter. So I think that's probably fine. I'm going to go ahead and just make these imports explicit, because I can't imagine I'm going to have to change much of these. So let's go ahead and do those. Okay. Looks fine to me. Let's see, now what we need to do is, what is the problem with this? Oh crap. When I went back and renamed this field, I think I didn't match on whole words, so I think I changed the name of that. Empty widget query request. What is the problem with this? Empty widget query request. I don't know what the issue with this is. I guess I just didn't import it. Okay, well, whatever. It works now. Okay, so now we got to go back to our handler. I think what I'm gonna do, actually, if there are any errors in here, yeah, so we're just gonna start from scratch here. I'm gonna get rid of this, and then I'm just gonna make a quick commit, just so I have these changes in our repo. I'm gonna need that. I'm not gonna need this anymore. Get rid of that. Okay. Let's see. Let me actually, before I make a commit, make sure, right? Yeah. So I want to also expose these records, right? I'm trying to think maybe also that I should make some lenses for them while I'm at it. Normally I do use template Haskell to make lenses. That seems kind of like overkill to have template Haskell just for these. So you know what I will do actually is just not make these lenses. I'm gonna rename these because I don't really care for them to be lenses. So let's go ahead and just rename them. We'll expose the functions, but not the data constructor, because I want to be able to see these records, but I don't really want to be able to actually construct one of these types, right? That was the whole point. That's the whole point of having this function here, is to construct it for me. Honestly, normally I wouldn't really bother with this sort of encapsulation type of thing. I would just export it all. But it might help with clarity down the line, because this is kind of a lengthy file as far as like encapsulated data types and logic goes for the actual UI. I don't have very many like separate data types that exist only in the UI that aren't already in the library backend. So it might be good for me to just, you know, exercise a little bit of discipline with my exports here. That's probably fine. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to cancel this commit and then just start a new one. Sometimes it pulls this, like, I don't know what that means. I'm just going to ignore that. Hopefully my entire repo isn't going to explode because of that, right? Okay. Normally, like, if I was using Git, I would have just written my commit and then amended it. But you can't, I mean, you can't really amend commits in Fossil. So now I have to go back and remember all 2 sentences that I wrote for the last commit. Let's see. Changed. Changed. What is it? Widget sentence branch from new type to a data type. I'm not going to bother with that. I think probably like most of these function changes are implied by this type change, right? So I'm going to just not bother with that. Plus, you know, like I said, I don't ever go back and read through my commit notes anyways, so I don't particularly worry about that sort of thing, you know, past having like one sentence that might tell me what I've done. Okay, so let me think here. Let me see how long this is getting. 34 minutes. I might cut that off here, and then we'll go through and adjust the handler in another one, because I think I'm going to get some dinner. Maybe I'll do some more tonight, because I feel like I'm kind of on a roll now, so I kind of want to bust some more of this out probably. So let's see what I have planned, probably in like half an hour from now is I'm gonna make some more events, right? I'll get to that, why I need to make more specifically for this, not for this event, but I definitely need to make some extra events. And then depending on how those go, I'm gonna have to shuffle some things around from this query event to this one. This is effectively gonna just become the new query event, so I have to be mindful of that. And then depending on how writing those goes, and for the handler, then I think what I might do is go ahead and start writing some of the actual UI elements, right? So we can get some stuff on the page and kind of mess around with how it looks. And then after that, probably not going to be in the same video because that is probably going to take a little bit of time. Then we'll go ahead and start writing events for running that query, for moving nodes around and deleting them and stuff like that. And then really I think past some just kind of style nitpicks and things like that, it'll probably be done after that. So might be a couple more videos. It's probably going to take me like between 3 to 5 hours, you know, like on the low end to finish that up, I would think. So something like that. So we'll see how long. But thanks for watching.